See what kind of superhero Eli Stowers is after we have our conversation about him. Tight end at Vanderbilt. Another guy who on scales is not going to be Rob Gronkowski. 6'4", 235 unofficially. Played about 40% in line. More than half the time in the slot. Played a little bit outside. Took a couple snaps at quarterback. New Mexico straight transfer. And also prior to that, played at Texas A&M. So he's been around a little bit in this NIL era. 100-meter hurdle guy. I don't know if you guys are hurdles, you and Sharon, but he can run the hurdles. 6A high jump champ in Texas in 2019. So there you go. If you're doing that in Texas, you're doing something. I'm not talking about Vermont. No disrespect to Vermont. He's in Texas balling out. So I wrote, when I wrote him up, I thought his athleticism flashed. I thought he's a little stiff in and out of breaks, but he has some quick twitch ability. He can high point the ball. Played in that offense at Vandy that was so much fun to watch with Pavia and all the things they were able to do, including that win over Alabama last year. I thought he was still raw as a route runner, but he does have a feel for when to settle in the zones, and then he can stride out, and we saw that in that Alabama game. So a lot to like in terms of where I had him graded. I have him as a day 3 guy right now. Maybe that's not as high on him as some other people should be, but I want to see how 2025 unfolds. Arrow's pointing up. I'm excited about that. But right now, he was my tight end 5 on my list. What do you think about Eli Stowers?
For starters, he was tight end 3 for me. I saw him as an F only. You know, you mentioned earlier about he doesn't have the Rob Gronkowski size, but I see this guy as just an athletic F tight end. And even when he was a line in line, he was kind of in a wing position, and they kept him on the move, use him on sifts, and sifts are the backside cutoffs. And so I liked his athleticism. I liked his speed. I like his ability to run after the catch, because you could see, you know, some of his speed and then his open field run skills. I was actually at the Bama game last year, and he had a really good game there. And as you can see on the screen right now, he has the production to match. 49 catches, 638. My one issue with him was the consistency of the blocking. I thought he was an average blocker, which at this point, if you're an F tight end, you really don't expect these guys to be dominant blockers. But I think the issue he's going to have at the next level is I don't think the coaches are going to trust to have him out there on the field full time, which I think is going to, you know, affect a lot of these guys, because, you know, it just is what it is. You got to be able to block some in this league. And if you can't block, you got to be dynamic, you know, as an F tight end, as a receiving tight end. And although I think he's good, I don't see him as quite being dynamic. And so I just think he's going to, I think he'll be a day 2 pick, you know, again in that 3rd round, because I think he's going to test well. And I think he's going to, you know, light up the charts at the Combine, Pro Day, whatever have you. And because of that, too, I see him as early as a 2-phase special teams guy. You know, and I'm sure they'll be able to use him because he has the size, he has the athleticism, and he can run to be a matchup guy. But I don't see him being, you know, this dynamic special teams player either. But still, number 3 on my list is tight end 3.
All right, my comp, and you can, you know, thumbs up or thumbs down it was Gerald Everett because of the athleticism and the size. I don't know if he's quite as athletic as Gerald Everett, and we'll find out together. So I want to get your thoughts on that, and also your thoughts on the conversations in the draft room once you get around to watching these guys, you know, January, February, March. If you know that he's not a great blocker and you know he's going to be an F tight end in your scheme, what is the tight end coach saying in these meetings, and what is the OC saying in terms of how high we want to take someone if we understand that he has limitations in half the plays we run if they're running plays?
Not a fan of the Gerald Everett comp. I think Gerald Everett, they're a little different athletes. I think Gerald Everett had better change of direction, being able to stick his foot in the ground, you know, create separation. Those are things that he did really well. I think Eli Stowers probably catches it more consistently than Gerald Everett, because Gerald would have concentration drops. But to answer your other question, in the draft room, again, it comes down to if you're going to be an F-only tight end, that's fine. I mean, that's what the game is making. They're converting these big receivers into tight ends. But if you're going to be F-only and you're going to be taken high, you have to be dynamic. Take, for instance, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was an okay blocker at best. He got in the way. He did what he was supposed to do. You weren't going to run power behind Kyle Pitts at Florida. But when you needed a play in the passing game, you used him as a mismatch, as a guy that you can put on, create matches for him against safeties and linebackers, and he would win 100% of the time. And so you have to have that type of ability to be a mismatch and be dynamic if you're going to be an F-only tight end.
By the way, I thank you for very politely disagreeing with my comp. Your predecessor was very angry about it and made me feel not great about myself. So, hey, we're making progress. We can all be a kinder, gentler space here. Hey, let me ask you about this. You did draft Chikakonkwo, correct?
No, I know. I came the year after they drafted
Oh,
Chig.
came the year after him. Okay, because he's a high end athlete coming out of college, and I think he's a little undersized. He's not 6'5". He's not. I don't think he's 250. He may be. But what were the plans in terms of how to get the most out of him athletically? Because the wide receivers weren't as athletic as perhaps you wanted them to be by the time you arrived there, and Chig provided that in the middle of the seam there. So I'm trying to get a sense of those types of tight end body types and how you use them because it feels like they're still scratching the surface on what Chick should be able to do in Tennessee.
No, Chig's a good athlete. Chig can run, and I think the underrated part of Chig's game is that he can block. He can actually
Mm.
block. You can put him on, on the move. You can create, different looks. You can put him in the backfield, line him up at fullback. You can put him in that wing position, use him on sifts, and you can put him in line, and he'll fight and scrap. And there are going to be times where he gets overpowered, and that's a mom and dad issue, and not more so as an effort. And to me, again, just like we talked about with the running backs, you just have to show the fight and the want to. And these tight end coaches, I'm thinking about a guy like John Embry. If you show him, who's the tight end coach in Miami, if you show him that you got the tools and that you're going to scrap and fight, then he'll get your technique right and to give you even more of a chance to win. I mean, let's call it. We spoke about it briefly. I interviewed George Kittle yesterday. George probably weighs on a good day between 235 and 238, and he's considered the best blocking tight end in the league. So a lot of it is just your mentality.
I'll ask you this quickly. I don't know if you remember George coming out in 2017, but why was he a fifth round pick? Is that because the offense didn't necessarily show at Iowa what he was going to be capable of? Was he stiff? Like, what were the reasons that George didn't go top 10, which is what he should have been in retrospect?
I'll just say this one thing because I know we got to cut the break here. Their starting quarterback only threw for 1,800 yards that year.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Hey, man, you go to Iowa, you're going to be a blocking tight end. You might not catch every pass you want to catch, but you'll be a blocking tight end. Worked out okay for him and Sam Laporta as well.